Story: South Africans stuck in war-torn Sudan could be back home as early as today. They were successfully evacuated from the conflict-ridden East African country and are now safe in Egypt. The SANDF is expected to fly them home. The gift of the givers also played a crucial role in the evacuation. Its founder, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, joins us now via Zoom from Pietermaritzburg. Dr. Sooliman, we understand, the update that we got from government yesterday was that the 8 remaining South Africans are stuck in Egypt because some of them didn't have travel documents. So are they traveling back home indeed today?
Today. The flight is delayed till tomorrow. They can't fly out today because we have to wait for all the South Africans to get onto that plane. And the problem is that, yes, the documents has been a huge problem. On Tuesday, the first batch of South Africans, 8 of them were held back at the border. It took 26 hours before they got cleared. And they had to wait for the diplomatic staff to come to the border. Diplomatic staff were caught up because of holiday and Eid. There were no flights. And then last night, yesterday morning, the last bus of 8 South Africans got to the Sudan border at 9:30. But of course, the diplomatic staff couldn't get to them again because the border was changed. The first border that we used got closed suddenly because of thousands of people there. And this was a huge distance from the first border. It means plans had to be changed. They traveled, they had to get permissions, regulations, a whole lot of things to take a bus, cross the Nile, take a boat, lots of things. And eventually they got there this morning at around 8 o'clock. But from last night, around 9 o'clock, we lost communication with the 8 South Africans. All the phones went dead. And up to now, we don't know where they are. We can't find them.
But
the intelligence services have gone across the border to try to find them.
So this means not all South Africans are accounted for currently then?
These are the only 8. The 38 came out in Egypt. 12 went by boat to Jeddah. 11 of them just got there this morning. They're in Jeddah right now. And 1 got there before them. 6 or 7 went out to Ethiopia. 3 to Djibouti. Some were in South Sudan. And 3 of them I know of that I've spoken to opted not to leave the country. They're still in Sudan.
And, government also saying yesterday that evacuations are never easy. So, on the way out, Dr. Sooliman, there was a lack of documents for some, a sick bus driver and other challenges. So tell us about the challenges that you faced during this particular evacuation and the crucial role that many people played, including the mention of Advocate Patrick Lutz.
This was a combined effort. There was no way you could do this alone. The challenges were many, absolutely too many. First of all, credit goes to the South Africans for organizing themselves as a group on a chat and trying to support each other, telling them where you can get water, where you must travel to, where you must not travel to, where it's safe, where it's not safe, what we must do, and they worked very well together. And then, of course, the big challenge was the bombing all over the city. Aerial bombing, artillery, street fights. 1 or 2 of them got caught in the fighting. One of the South Africans' husband got shot in the leg, but with a rubber bullet, fortunately. And they were moving around, they were too scared to come out. So the war itself was restrictive in terms of movement, and you're not sure whether you can move in the city or outside the city. The second big problem was because of the crisis, you couldn't get to an airport. And when you could get to an airport, it was surrounded by opposing forces, so you couldn't use an airport once that were closer. You then had to go at a distance. Now, to go at a distance, you need a bus. And the buses were not easily available because everybody wants a bus. When you find the bus, they want cash money. There's no bank transfer or EFT or credit card. They want cash money because there are no functional banks. And you need thousands of dollars. Fortunately, the embassy had money to pay for the first 2 buses, which we arranged. Then, of course, there's checkpoints to go through. All that happened, and then the biggest hurdle in all this, many people don't have their documentation because their passport is either in their company, in their house, which they can't reach, or in the government department to get some kind of the document or a permit. And that's the biggest hassle right now, that many people are stuck in the border, and some people 4 days or longer have been staying there with 40 degrees heat, no water, no food. It's a nightmare for people.
And obviously there was also the challenge of a ceasefire that clearly didn't really hold for as long as the agreement was held. But also, Dr. Imtiaz, in terms of other citizens who are probably not South African, who are also probably just pleading for you to assist, are there any of those who have come to the South African government or to Gift of the Givers to ask you to help them as well?
Plenty. There's plenty like that. And you need governments, and again, they're going to have the same problem. They need consular support. All embassies are closed. And everybody doesn't come to the border to fetch their people. We're fortunate the South African people came to the border to fetch the South African people. But in answering that, we had 7 Angolans and 1 person from Lesotho on the first 2 buses. On this last bus, we had Sudanese, Palestinians, 2 Americans, a British, 1 Nigerian, 1 Zimbabwean, and of course 8 South Africans. And we even made space for the Brazilians. The deputy Brazil ambassador called me and said, can you take Brazilians? We made space for them. We made all the arrangements. They came to the bus and then suddenly decided they don't want to go to Egypt. They went to Port Sudan. And then the Tanzanians called earlier in the week to say, can we arrange buses for them? We made those arrangements, and afterwards they came back and said, look, thank you very much. They managed to find buses. And then as we were leaving, we got calls, I'm from Australia, I'm stuck here. Someone said, I'm a South African, I'm a pilot, but I'm in this area. I can't fly, I can't get to you. So there's 2 or 3 problems. One is people want to come out, but they don't have documents, they don't have consular support. And other people who want to come out, who have the documents, who have the consular support, can't get to the main area because they're trapped in areas where there's deep fighting. They can't move, the roads are too dangerous. And like that, there's so many such messages. So many people want to come out, and you feel sorry for them, especially when you see the women and children at the border post and sitting there for days and just so traumatized.
So lastly, Dr. Sooliman, in terms of that ceasefire that did or didn't hold, etc., how much of a challenge did that pose to your operations, along with other countries that were there also trying to get their citizens out of Sudan?
Well, the credit goes to our bus company. It's called Good Transporter. Really was a good transport. The man was excellent. On Tuesday, when the bus was supposed to leave, he came back and said, let's wait an hour. Then he said, let's wait 2 hours. And then eventually he came back and said, my friends, you can't leave today. There's skirmishes all around the city. There's aerial bombing. There's trouble on the side. We can't do this today. We can't leave today. And then the next day, as we were out, it was on Wednesday. When we were about to leave, he said, look, now's the right window. All the troops are moving in. You've got to move now. The road is clear. So in that way, of course, it was visible. When the first buses went through on Monday, the words they used was uneventful. Nothing happened on the roads.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, the guy said, there's no way you can get out of here. It's impossible. You can't do this. It's too risky. And then the people themselves heard the shelling. They saw the fighting. They saw the shooting. And even the other nationalities that came, they ran into the houses and said, we can't come out now. It's too dangerous. And of course, the last story is that one of the South Africans on the bus, in that panic and that anxiety when they saw all the atrocities, just jumped to a taxi and drove off 200 kilometers away to the south and didn't want to come back. I had to spend over an hour encouraging them to come back. But they saw so much of mayhem. And on the way back, they saw the tanks, they saw the people, they saw the people getting shot. It was highly traumatizing for them. And these people have one big problem. The wife is South African, the husband and the daughter American. And if the American consul general doesn't come to the border, there's going to be a difficulty of getting them all out together.
Yeah, together.
But we made some calls. And Patrick Lewis has played a very good role in that. He's made a couple of calls, and hopefully one of those calls will allow the husband and daughter to go with the South African lady.
Yeah.
And also one of those calls, I think, is the 12 South Africans stuck in Port Sudan.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sooliman. And obviously, with your description of what's been happening and what people are seeing, they're probably going to need a lot of counseling. Gift of the Giver's founder, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, speaking to us there.